Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and whack'em back. Welcome back to the 108th episode of Shochu'sday. Kanpai to everybody out there around the world.
Kanpai.
What's in your cup? Please drop a comment either in Facebook or on YouTube to let us know. And we're back again, Stephen and Christopher, at your service, reporting live from various parts of Japan. How you doing, Stephen?
Good, Christopher. How are you? So you can probably tell
All
I got
right.
a haircut. It's my
You
big news.
did.
Yeah,
Nice. I,
it's summertime. It's I was
well,
out, doing my runs. We haven't talked about my running in a while, but I was out running a couple of weeks ago. I was like, man, it's warm, and then I
you finally got
realized
there.
that I was holding all the heat in, from the top, so I just cut it short, and then more heat escapes. It's a good cooling system.
Nice. Yeah, as
Yeah,
is a highball. I think that's my preferred way to stay cool in the summer. You do
sure,
your
sure.
running with short hair. I do my highball sipping under an umbrella on the deck.
Not
That's
not
not
a bad
true. I don't
idea.
have a deck, nor do I have a big umbrella. But anyway, yeah, it's almost summer, folks, and not a time to be out and about in most parts of Japan. Probably up north, it's fine, but yeah, it's oppressively hot and muggy most of the time. It looks like Mark is
Yeah.
drinking something good. Look at this.
Oh, nice. Yep, that's the main brand of Yamato Zakura coming into California, so it's 24% alcohol. Um, and so they put soju on the label to sell more bottles in that state, which we can ignore that for now. But
Yeah, Mark,
we've shared
on
our
your
opinions
bottle.
about that.
Yeah, on your bottle where it says soju, if it hasn't been crossed out already, take a black pen and X that out. In fact, if we ever, I don't know, I think I'm gonna start bringing in. I'm gonna get a sheet of little black stickers, and I'm gonna go in to all of these bottle shops and just cover up soju on all of these bottles of shochu, just to help avoid the industry creating more confusion for itself. But anyways, Mark, great
Yeah,
choice. And how would you recommend drinking that, Stephen?
I prefer the standard Yamato Zakura on the rocks or with a little bit of sasha water, cold water. It's great oyuwari too. It's a pretty flexible drink. Yeah, I had long conversations with Tekkan about whether or not he really wanted to do the 24% soju route, and I did not win that argument. It wasn't really an argument; it was a discussion, but it was a very over many, many, many months did this topic get revisited,
Oh
and
man, I wish I had been part of that discussion because it would have gotten animated, and then we might have won. I think. But yeah. Anyways, great choice, great distillery, and
yeah,
I'm envious. If it was a little later in the day, then I would be joining you, Mark. But I think I need to be semi-responsible for now.
yeah, good choice for sure. Um, yeah,
So let's
and
see. I think we can move on to a quick
mhm.
announcement. I'll let you lead this.
Sure. So after much editing and and re-editing, we'll have our next episode of Japan Distilled releasing. I would say it'll be available tomorrow for folks in the U.S. Maybe later today for people in Japan. Uh,
Okay.
could be pushed one more day just from a timing standpoint, but we will have a new episode coming out very soon. I know we said we would last week, and that didn't happen because it took longer to edit than we expected. But this is an interview with Elliot Faber of Sunday Spirits in Hong Kong. And if you don't think you know Elliot, you probably know his work, and I'll be right back.
I'm gonna go
Yeah, fortunately, my
grab
book's right next to me.
that big old
This
bad boy.
this is Elliot's handiwork. This book on sake, which is, I would say, inarguably the most gorgeous sake book I've ever seen. It is a fatty. It's got some girth, and it has just absolutely gorgeous photography. Tons of really information about each of the breweries and distilleries that he visited. Uh, he talks about how the book came about on the episode, and it's a pretty wild story and a pretty intense schedule that it took to get this done. This was the first edition, and I think he said they printed 4,500 copies of it. You can probably still find these bouncing around the world in bookstores somewhere, but they've now updated. They have a 1.5, and they're now planning version 2.
Okay.
well, I'm kind of giving away parts of the episode. I should stop now. It's supposed to be a tease. But that's a very small part of what was a very wide-ranging conversation that goes from ice hockey to underage beer to backpacking in Thailand and all sorts of wild stuff. Elliot's had a very, very interesting life to date, and he's still quite young. He's and the business that he's built in Hong Kong just in the last decade or so is really impressive. So definitely an episode worth listening to if you're curious about like how does somebody get into this industry and how do they succeed and all that sort of thing. Really interesting conversation.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm looking forward to listening to that one. I know you guys have been working on it for quite some time, so
yeah, we
it'll be good
recorded
to
this.
liberate that one.
Yeah, we recorded this before the whole Day in the Life series, and so it kind of got put on the back burner, and then we're finally getting it out into the world, and I hope people enjoy it. Elliot's a really interesting guy, so and he's not really that active on social media, and I think part of the reason he accepted the invitation was that he realizes he needs to get out there a little bit more and be a little bit more accessible to drinks lovers and the like. So
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's coming out party in a way, maybe. So
Nice. All right.
you've met him.
Well,
You
I
guys
I
judged in the
have
same
briefly
competition?
met him. Yes, met
Yeah.
him in Tokyo at one point.
Yeah. Never had the pleasure other than over a video chat for that interview.
Yeah, well, I met him at a huge event for that book that you just showed at the Correspondence Club. So there was a lot of competition for his attention. So you've had a longer conversation with him than I ever enjoyed. Yeah, that episode should be very interesting, and yeah, it's fun to hear different perspectives on these things. So cool. I'm gonna switch the banner over to booze news and without getting too fully into our conversation that we had, or that we're gonna have about our recent trip, our trip last weekend to Kumamoto City. I don't know. Is there anything we can talk about that's newsy?
Yeah. So let me just try to get this called up. The John Barleycorn Awards actually just announced their Best of Spring 2022.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
John Barleycorn is the what's the official name of the organization? Sorry, just running through tabs here.
Oh, yeah.
The let's see. The John Barleycorn Society is the preeminent organization of spirits writers, marketers, and broadcasters and publishers of the popular Barleycorn drinks online publication. If you look at like the actual judges, it's kind of a who's who. Some pretty incredible names in the spirits world who judge for this competition, even though it's a relatively new competition. And they do things a little bit differently. They actually have a spring entry season and a fall entry season, and then the two winners in a category will go head to head for the grand prize for the year, which is pretty fun. But they only do that for a limited number of categories.
Okay.
And they do broader winners for the individual categories in the spring and in the fall. And what was really interesting for me for this year, let's see if I've got it at the right place now. Almost there. So we have two Japanese spirits that ended up taking home double gold and best in class. And those are, sorry, where's my, I'm going to share my screen now. Sharing screen is always just so easy on this platform.
It is. They really did simplify it. It's no more than like 6 clicks.
Let's see. Okay. Your browser just blocked your... Sorry. I think I just... no.
Did you just turn off your ability to share?
I did.
I haven't touched a thing.
Let me see. Settings. Oh, this is awful. Yeah.
Love it.
Privacy and security. Maybe.
You just blocked yourself.
Yeah. Maybe I tell you what. I'm gonna send you the
The
link.
link and see if I can share it. All right, I'm probably gonna make
And,
the
and
same damn mistake.
it said allow
Okay.
or block, and I said block. That was wrong.
Okay. That's one strategy. Here, let me. Okay. Now I'm gonna struggle with the same thing. So let's go
Yeah.
to share, and then I need to share a screen. I want a Chrome tab here, and then that's gonna be the JB. Or here we go. Share. Let's see if this works. Did that work?
That worked. Yeah.
Okay,
So now
that worked.
you're gonna scroll down a ways, though, of course, because there's lots of these are all the best in class winners. We don't really want to talk about all of the American whiskeys and scotches and things. We're interested in the winners in two different categories. I think the first one that'll come up, because you can see many whiskeys, because they are a whiskey.
Sure, there's a lot of whiskey nuts in
Here
there.
you go. There's
there?
one. So that's the first one. So Suntory won for best vodka for Haku vodka.
Okay.
And,
If I click on this, is it going to show me tasting notes or anything? Or no, there's nothing to click on here, huh?
There's nothing to click on. It's just their winners page. So that was the first one was Haku. And then this spring 2022 was their first time getting into shochu as a category. And the winner was, there we have it, double gold for Masako from Honkaku Spirits, mislabeled as Northern Row.
This is Northern Row Brewery and Distillery. What is this? I'm curious about where that is, but clearly somebody was asleep at the wheel. Now that's Furusawa Distillery in Miyazaki, right. not Northern Row. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, and there's actually quite a nice. We actually, I don't know if we were aware of it. There was a nice profile of Masako Furusawa that was written up not that long ago. I'll just drop that in the show notes, maybe, if I can find the.
Okay, well, I just stopped sharing, so we're back to normal here. Although our view is a little weird.
I still probably can't share, so I'm just going to put it into the comments. This is the article that was published in Savvy Tokyo late last year about Masako Furusawa that told you who makes that Masako brand. Obviously, it's named after her, one of the few female brewer distillers in Japan.
Okay.
So, yeah, congratulations to Furusawa Distillery on her well-deserved double gold best in show best category for the John Barleycorn Awards Spring 2022.
Yep. So it is a beauty. 35% ABV. Says 11 years here on the label. Ooh, come on. You got it. There it is. There's the cross and the hyphen. 11 years. But actually it was distilled in the summer of 2009. So the stuff that's just reaching the States right now is going to be 13 years old. It'll only get older. It's one tank that when it's gone, it's gone. And we're probably only a couple more shipments away from draining the tank. So get yours while it's hot, folks, because it isn't coming back.
Yeah, that's right.
At least not that version.
Well, that whole Three Ladies series are all basically the oldest distillate that was available in the Furusawa distillery for sweet potato, barley, and rice. And once those tanks are empty, then I guess go back and talk.
We'll see what else is possible. But
the next oldest tanks.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Of course, but again, it has to be stuff that it inspires us. And everything she makes is gorgeous, so I don't think that's an issue.
Sure.
But it is also going to have to be. I mean, we were drawn to those three expressions because they were so rich and so deep, and so like Motoko has this funky mushroom note to it that is really savory. And if we can find more of that, then we'll absolutely be happy to discuss. But at any rate, we spent a lot of time figuring out these three, and I just trying to start that over again exhausts the hell out of me. Just the idea of it. It's like, oh my God. So I hope it takes a while for us to drain those tanks, but don't tell Furusawa-san I said that.
Yeah, yeah. She has high hopes that those will sell quickly.
She needs the tank space, so she's like,
Yeah.
well.
That's
But yeah, folks, if you have a chance to try those at your local, then definitely belly up to the bar and have a sip, because they are remarkable. As the folks at the John Barleycorn Awards assessed, Masako's pretty damn good. So
that's right.
yeah, that's good booze news. I like that. Hold on, let me get rid of this scrolling banner because it's making me dizzy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. And we should
But
move
yeah,
on to the main event, I think.
yeah, let's do that. So, holy crap, I'm way down in the list. There's too many banners here, man. Okay, here we go. So trip to Kumamoto. We, Steven and I took a Shinkansen down with our good friend Brian, and the three of us met up with another good friend, and we had quite a good time down in Kumamoto. What were some of the highlights, would you say, Steven?
Yeah, well, I mean, Kumamoto City, which is a place I used to spend a fair amount of time before the pandemic, because it's so close to Fukuoka. Got a really nice bar and restaurant scene, nice drinking area, and our good friend Nori Yamashita still has for a few more days, pretty wild shochu bar called Global Bar. Global being global and local mashed together, as Japanese are wont to do with borrowed words and Japanese words as well. And he ran it basically as a place to educate people about shochu. So his business was really reliant on inbound tourists. And of course, when COVID happened, that just kind of crushed his business. And now he was paying virtually nothing for rent. He got subsidies from the government to during the lockdowns and whatnot. So he was able to stay open, but he's decided to close it down, not because it's no longer a viable business, but because he's decided to move to Germany.
Right.
He wants to be a missionary, not just an evangelist. He wants to be a missionary. So he's going to go abroad and share the good news of shochu to the world in Germany.
Bless him.
So, yep. So he's if you happen to be able to get to Kumamoto in the next 2 weeks, basically, I guess no, it's actually this weekend, right? So actually in the next week, I think he's closing on the 24th. If you can get down to Kumamoto before then, he's doing
a pretty affordable,
yen.
Yeah, 1,000 yen all you can drink with no time limit. So it's a good time to go. He's just begging people to basically help him deplete his stock of shochu, whatever he has left.
Yeah, so we were able to, and also some friends from Kagoshima were there. We had a nice time at his bar. But that was one part. That was the reason for the trip. That was the impetus for going when we did, was just to pour one out for Nori and his bar. But the other, I think the highlight might have been that there's a new Yatai Mura in Kumamoto.
Yeah.
So Christopher has lamented the demise of the Yatai Mura in Kagoshima, which was his favorite place.
One of my favorite places to hang out. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Yatai Mura, and Yatai Mura, for the uninitiated, are, by the Japanese standard anyway, and in our favorite rendition of the term, is an outdoor grouping of what are essentially little linked bars, and each one of them will have the way that they do it in Japan anyway is that there are 8 interior seats and usually enough space outside for a couple of 4 top tables. And there's the biggest one that I have ever visited was in Kagoshima until they shut it down because the land it was built on was too valuable. And then the second largest one is in Naha, down in Okinawa. And now there's a new one in Kumamoto. And I think the one in Kumamoto might have around 20 different little shops that are along this long alley. And each one has its own little culture, food and drink culture. They're not all completely Kumamoto-esque. I mean, they've kind of allowed a conglomerate to come in and control the beer stall, and they've got what is essentially an Italian place rammed in there with but they use a lot of local ingredients. and it's a lot of fun because you can just kind of bar hop along the street. And what makes these places enjoyable for a certain subset of the customer base, and I am definitely one of them, is they tend to have loyalty cards or stamp cards. Now the Kumamoto place is still developing theirs, but what ends up happening is that if you can get a stamp from all of the different places within the mura, within this little within this street, within a set amount of time, usually it's a calendar year, then you get some sort of prize. And the prize for at least the previous version of the Kagoshima one, there's a new one in the works. There's a new Yatai Mura for Kagoshima that's being developed, but it's going to be indoors, which I'm not as positive about. And the one in Naha is that you get a pendant for completing getting all of the stamps, and then that pendant gets you a free drink at Yatai Mura each time you go back after that. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great place to meet people, and it was a lot of fun for us because actually there were some holdovers, some veterans from the Kagoshima Yatai Mura that were there to both advise on the prep before the grand opening and happened to all be working in this one particular yatai. So there were some of the OGs from Kagoshima Yatai Mura, like Kuri-san and Saito-san, who were in there. And I was walking out of the toilet, and I hear somebody call me by my nickname. I'm like, what the who the hell? And then it's Mr. Kuri, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that I knew you were consulting. I didn't realize you were working. And he's like, this Four Top's gonna open pretty soon. You want me to let you know when it's open? And so then we ended up at his place and had some really good emo shochu, and it was a lot of fun. But that place, I think, is gonna be a really, really enjoyable thing for people in Kumamoto City to hit up. And like I said, it's highly social. You're gonna meet people whether you like it or not, and it's a good time no matter where you go. So definitely put that on the bucket list if you're going to be in Kumamoto anytime soon.
Yeah, no question. It was, it's mainly Kumamoto focused, but then of course there was the Satsuma stand basically that had some great sweet potato shochu from Kagoshima, as well as some Kagoshima delicacies, and then the Italian bar, which was pretty funny. The Italian place, in a way, was interesting because it was set up as almost a robataya.
Yeah,
where you had the central charcoal oven, essentially the open oven or stove, and then skewers of different meats or fish or vegetables were placed around that charcoal. So it is, that part of it was very Japanese. But then next to that is a pizza oven.
Yeah,
right? You're drinking Peroni.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Beers.
So it was a pretty different experience there. And then the other thing that they had there that I had never seen for shochu before is they had a self-service shochu stand. So
right.
And these are well known for sake, like up in Niigata. Remember in Yama, I can't remember the name of the onsen stop on the Shinkansen, but there's a ski resort and everything. But in the station, there's one of these. You can taste like any Niigata sake for 100 yen. You get your little cup, and you put in your coin. You press the button, out comes the sake in your cup, and then you enjoy that. This was a shochu version for Kumamoto shochu. Now they didn't have everything because there's 28 distilleries down there, and I think they only had 12 taps.
Was it 12? Okay.
There were two per machine, and there were 6 machines, I think. So there were 12 different shochu available. Basically self-service. You get your little cup. There's an ice machine. There's water for dilution, hot or cold, so you can mix it how you like. Put in your 100 yen, get your shochu, and there was a table, and it was just a folding table, right?
Yeah, just high top folding table that anybody could stand next to.
And you just stand there and have your drink. And there's a sign that says, "Don't take these into the shops because you got to buy drinks from them." But you can have a sip while you're walking around or just hang out here. And it was kind of fun because you could try different Kumamoto shochu. I believe all the rice that they had available.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And
it's good if you're like, if everything's packed, you can just kind of bide your time over there until you see something open up and you're like, oh, it looks like that table's leaving. So then you go, drain that cup and then go get in line and pounce on it. It's a really fun and lively atmosphere. The energy is really good. So it's a really enjoyable place to visit, and I would say the same about every other Yatai that I've been to, especially the ones that are outdoors. I think,
Hmm.
and people have been to place. There's also the Yokocho type of kind of alley of nomiya that is so common around Japan, and there's a element of that as well. The big difference here is that there's an organizing company that kind of has them all of the different shops are following, they're all marching to the same tune, so to speak. They're all on the same
Hmm.
program. They have
Yeah.
similar opening hours, most of them, and there are rules that govern how they do business, and they work together as a team. So that makes it a little bit different from the Yokocho that people may have experienced in the past.
Yeah, yeah, and another nice part about them is, at least when the weather's nice, that they just sort of slide open the doors, and then it's kind of an open air experience, right?
So a
Even
little
if you're
bit like a
sitting
block
indoors.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, true. If you got the tape, you got the counter, the 8-seat counter inside, it's the typical size, and then there'll usually be a couple of tables outside. And once they open up those doors, it just becomes one big conversation, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's different versions of these around the country. There's a Yatai Mura up in Hokkaido
You haven't been to
that I
that one.
love. In what's the name of that town? It's near Yoichi. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I always remember the name, and right now I can't. But they have a nice little yatai up there, and they had a standing sushi bar in that yatai. It
Oh,
was
that's
absolutely
good.
absolutely fantastic. But you're standing. It's casual. It's super fresh seafood from. This is a fishing village basically where they have this, and it was a pretty great experience. I hope to go back. I actually met when I was there. I've only been there once, but when I was there, it just happened to be that the guy standing next to me was the TV broadcaster for the Nippon Ham Fighters,
Oh,
like the guy
jeez.
who's on air for the baseball team, so we could geek out about baseball a little bit.
Nice.
And then yeah, so and of course in Hokkaido it's cold half the year, so that one was much more. It was outdoor, but they closed up and were nice and toasty warm inside. They didn't have the outdoor tables in the winter when I
Oh,
visited.
you freeze your nuggets off. Yeah, I can only imagine
Yeah,
trying to have a drink outside in the
yeah,
middle of Hokkaido's winter. That's a
yeah,
thankless task right there.
yeah. And I guess just getting back to yatai as a concept, though, they started as these essentially just small food stalls, and in here in Fukuoka we still have about over 100 of them that they roll out their little carts every night, set up the
Yep.
chairs, drop
Right.
the awning,
Uh
open
huh.
for business, cook drinks, everything, and then they close up and roll it home at night. This yatai mura concept's a little bit easier on the shop owner because they don't have to push their cart back to its storage space and then back out every day. Um, and things I think are a little bit more sanitary and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're really fun places. I highly recommend visiting one of these yatai when in Japan if you have the opportunity. And it seems like they're becoming popular. Like it was jammed when we were there. There were a
Yeah.
lot of people there.
It's
Of
really
course,
just
the food's
it
good.
really is a question of property values and what type, how much it costs to rent that land.
Mhm, mhm.
The one in Kagoshima that they closed down was right across the street from the Shinkansen station. So that one, the writing was on the wall. It's you have
Yeah,
one floor of business, and we could put a 14 floor building here.
yeah.
So that's well, now it's a parking lot, which is highly unsatisfying. But I'm sure it's headed in the direction of a
Sure.
large
That's the
building.
often the interim step between
Yep.
demolition and construction is a
Yeah.
parking lot to make a little
Um,
money. This is a good
but
location, but it's a pretty narrow space. So
it
I think
is.
the property value isn't quite as great. Then the Kagoshima one, it was actually quite wide because they had two alleys side by side. So then you're talking about quite a bit of square footage that was
Yeah, and if they knock
being
down that
occupied.
building right next to it, it gets even fatter. And I know that that one was scheduled for demolition as well. So yeah, it's a good location with a lot of street frontage.
Yep,
Whereas,
yep,
yeah, you're right. The one in Kumamoto has a very narrow entry, so
yep,
the building would have to be long and narrow going back
yeah.
from the
And it's
street.
quite easy to get to the one in Kumamoto. It's right out. It's basically what, half a block or so from Kumamoto Castle. So right in sort of the central tourist area. Um, Probably what, 5 minute walk from Nori's bar. Rest
Yep.
in peace for the bar, not Nori. And then, but a lot of great places around there. A lot of good bars and restaurants and things. It's a fun part of the city. And and Evan Gowan, who I don't know if he usually joins these broadcasts because he's usually working at this time since he's based in Kumamoto, but he's a Kumamoto local who's always happy to show folks around. So reach out to him on social, I'm sure, and have a local guide basically. So cool.
Yeah. Do we want to do a newly opened? Do you have a newly opened?
I do, and I didn't actually plan it because I didn't know what our booze news was going to be. But my newly opened, actually, we opened this together.
Yeah.
This is Furusawa's first summer shochu. So these light blue bottles have become a thing recently, where you bottle at about 20% ABV, usually a blue bottle with some fresh looking label. And this is Yai Zakura from Furusawa. So we talked about Masako earlier, taking home double gold in the Barley Corn Awards.
Yeah.
This is her first summer expression. And so when Christopher came to Fukuoka before we headed down to Kumamoto, we popped this open, enjoyed a couple of glasses, and I enjoyed a couple of more. And you can see these bottles aren't that big.
No.
Not much left, even though we opened it Friday.
My newly opened is another one that we had a sip of together, and we've talked about this before, but it's the Horizon. Yep. Man, there's glare on. This is a shiny label. This is made in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a rice shochu made with black koji and American rice, distilled in a copper pot still, which is unheard of in Japan, and it's quite good. If you have access to Horizon, they don't call it a shochu on here. They call it a American rice koji spirit. It's an 80 proof delight. It's quite good. So I drank it oyuwari. I've had it on the rocks. I don't know if I've had it with bubbles, but you had it with bubbles, right?
I had it with bubbles, and it was like
it's good
caramel. It was so good.
I've had it in
really,
a cocktail
really nice
or two.
flavors.
Really good expression. So the guys behind Horizon, 2 thumbs up to both of you.
Yeah, they should be proud for sure.
Yep. So cool. Get yourself a bottle of that. And I think that's it for us for today. Am I right?
I think you are right. I think.
And Chris agrees. Horizon is quite good with bubbles. So you've heard it from both sides of the pond. Now go get a bottle.
That's right. Yeah, we had the opportunity to introduce Horizon to a pretty famous shochu bar here in Fukuoka at the end of our weekend together, and we blind tasted them on it. We didn't tell them what it was, and they were blown away that it's an American shochu. They were really, really impressed. So it's legit. Good stuff they're doing down there in Georgia.
Yep. All right. Well, cool. I think we went through all the banners we needed to, and I guess we can close it out. So this is a nice brief one, 33 minutes, and it was a fun one. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Christopher, as always.
Yep, and we will see you guys again next week for episode 109. Not exactly sure who we're going to have on, but we're looking at getting a guest on again next week. Until then, from both of us here in Japan to everybody out there all around the world in Shochu'sday land, a very hearty and heartfelt kanpai.
Kanpai.